So obviously, we're going to get right into the meat of the call right now. We've got Mr. Robert Kiyosaki who's calling in his home state of Hawaii. Mr. Kiyosaki, you on the line with us right now?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Congratulations, and thanks for taking the time to listen to this exclusive interview with Robert Kiyosaki, discussing his best-selling book, The Business of the 21st Century, offered by networkmarketcenter.com, home of the premier resource for successful network marketers. We have taken the liberty to remove all references to any other network marketing company so that you and your team can listen to this audio without the fear of being enticed by any other network marketing company. We would even like to give you the opportunity to invest in the Business of the 21st Century book or audio CD. We also offer bulk discounts. If this is something that you would like to take advantage of, after listening to the call, come visit us at networkmarketcenter.com. You are going to be listening to a pre-recorded conference call with Brian Carruthers and Robert Kiyosaki. Go ahead and grab a piece of paper and something to write with, because you're going to want to take a lot of notes. Let's go ahead and get started.
It is my pleasure this evening. I want to greet everyone for dialing in on this call, and it's my pleasure I get to introduce our first speaker. This gentleman actually has not only made millions himself, but he actually has produced one of the largest, most successful organizations in the entire network marketing industry over the last 10 years. He's breaking records all around. He's produced and done so many things, and it is my pleasure to turn the call over to Mr. Brian Carruthers. Are you on the call, sir?
I am. I appreciate it very much, and welcome everybody to our conference call tonight. This live call, we've got literally several thousand people trying to dial into the call right now from all across the United States and Canada. So I want to welcome everybody. I want to encourage everybody to sit back, relax. If you have a pen and paper, you want to jot some things down, that's great. But more importantly, I want you to simply think about and digest what you're going to hear tonight. We've got a very incredible individual that's dialed in from Hawaii on the line here with us tonight. I'm going to introduce him in just a second. But for those of you all that are on the call, you're here for a reason. You've heard the name Robert Kiyosaki. You've probably read one or many of his books, one of his most famous, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or maybe his Cashflow Quadrant. The reason why we put this call here together tonight is because I actually got my hands probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago on his one of his latest books, The Business of the 21st Century. And after I read the book, I contacted Mr. Kiyosaki immediately, and I wanted to see if we could put a conference call, which was what we're on tonight, together, because I want everybody to really think about why the best thing that you can possibly do right now is to get serious about your business. I want to talk to you all about why your family has got to support you in this venture, why your friends should join you in it, and why you need to build your business as fast as you possibly can right now. And just the first chapter or two of the book really got me thinking about how valuable a business like this can be to anybody's life. And I look back on the decisions I've made over the last 10 years, and I can tell you, I don't know how many years ago it's been that I first picked up the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, and it really confirmed what I was the path I was already on. You know, Robert Kiyosaki has already been spot on over the last 10 years with regard to the economy, to business, to finances, and talking about shifting quadrants from the E or the S over to the B and the I. And let me just tell you guys something. I've had a lot of great accomplishments over the last 10 years. I don't know if there's anybody else out there in the industry that's put a team together of over 360,000 representatives all across U.S. and Canada, obviously working with a great company. But you know, I really understood the value of building a business like this because you need to do it to build cash-flowing assets. My business throws off anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a day, whether I work or not. And I'm not here to brag or boast or to talk about, hey, look what I've done. I want you to understand why it is that I chose to build a business like this. Okay, and you're going to be hearing some confirmation, some validation of that here in a second. But my background's in real estate. My brother and I and father and I built up a 24-office real estate company across Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. Over 1,000 agents doing over $1 billion a year in sales, mortgage company, title company, the whole 9 yards. So I understood business. And from my real estate background, I want you to think about this. You know, let's say you have a $250,000 home that you buy, an investment property. If you have that kind of money, if you can find somebody that will lend you that kind of money for $250,000, what are you hoping to get out of that? Maybe a $300 a month positive cash flow. You have to invest $250,000 to get $300 a month coming in. See, what I loved about my prepaid business is that I go out and bring aboard a couple of associates and teach them how to go out and make a couple sales a week, and I can actually have way more than that kind of cash flow without having to invest $250,000. So here's the thing, if I can sit here and spend 15 minutes making $252 plus residuals, that's great. But what if I could teach someone to do the same thing and duplicate it and get wealthy? I've made over $14 million working this business out of my home, again, because I understood the value in creating assets that will spit off cash flow to me, whether I'm working or not. And so, obviously, we're going to get right into the meat of the call right now. We've got Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, who's calling in his home state of Hawaii. Mr. Kiyosaki, you on the line with us right now?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here for everybody. I know, like I said, we've probably got 3,000 or so individuals that are on the line tonight, probably looking to hear what you might have to say that might be able to have an impact on them. And I guess what we'll do is just kind of interview back and forth here. I wrote down a few questions I'd like to, run past and kind of comment on what your thoughts are. But the first thing, your book, The Business of the 21st Century, and again, folks, when you're done with this call, sometime the next day or two, I encourage everybody to get your hands on a copy of this book. In the beginning of the book, you talk about, the state of the economy right now. Talk about 50 years ago, everybody used to work for themselves. Over the last 50 years, everybody got into corporate America, worked for somebody else, and now job security no longer exists. And people need to start taking their own life, their own finances seriously into their own hands. Start off maybe emphasizing, why you really wholeheartedly believe that.
Well, the reason I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad and created the Rich Dad Company, as well as create my board games and all this, was because it was back around the 80s, I could see this financial crisis coming. And I saw the start of the crisis when I was a pilot in Vietnam, and I saw the Vietnamese people starting to panic as their country was collapsing. And when the collapse was, this was 1972 and didn't collapse till 75. But I always saw in the people they were not accepting U.S. dollar bills nor the Vietnamese piastre, and what they wanted was gold. And as a young man at the time, a Marine Corps officer, I said, "What the heck is going on here? Why would they panic? Why would they not want my dollars or my piastre?" And today, what we see is that it is the decline of the U.S. empire. And today, there's a lot of people who are in pure denial. They really think that Obama and Bernanke, the head of the Federal Reserve Bank, and our politicians will save them. But I have bad news for people. Our politicians really do not work for the people. They work for the big corporations. And the reason for that is, if you want proof of that, it started when there was a McCain-Feingold bill that was repealed in January of 2010. And when they repealed the McCain-Feingold bill, they basically said that major corporations could donate unlimited amounts of money to any campaign senator or congressman or president. And that basically meant your votes don't count anymore. That if you're not rich, you don't have $1 million, you don't get to vote. Today, look at the banking crisis, Goldman Sachs. They caused them, as well as the banks, caused the crisis, and the taxpayer has to clean it up. And, Halliburton, BP, and Transocean, the spill in the Gulf of Mexico, they expect taxpayer to clean it up. So I think people should wake up and realize that our politicians work for the very rich. And if you're going to be rich, you may as well play by the rules of the rich. So really, that's what's going on. And the big corporations, as you know, are exporting jobs all over the world. Why should they pay anybody a high salary when they can hire some smart guy in India or the Philippines? So that's really what's going on, and that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I think your business is essential today if you're going to survive.
Well, obviously people are feeling it right now. I mean, roughly 10% unemployment across the United States at this point, and people are not. People who have jobs are worried they might not have one tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Even people that have what they consider good jobs are still not getting ahead financially. The reality is that obviously if they're in the Quadrant, and then hopefully everybody will read the book and realize that that's just not where they need to be in order to be able to get ahead. But I really just think that right now, that you talk about in the book, that everybody is a part of someone else's networks, or many people's networks, and that people need to start building their own network. You talk about getting involved in a network marketing business is not about necessarily selling products, which obviously is just of what it's about. That's how commerce is made, and that's how you build a business out of it. But can you elaborate on the need for folks on the line right now to understand the importance or the value in building their network? Because obviously they're a pawn in somebody else's game, but they need to start to build their own networks.
Well, I'll explain why, from an macroeconomic terms, why a network is so important. If you're just working by yourself, or you're working, let's say, as an employee for even Exxon, your income is extremely limited. And with this financial crisis and the banks, the Federal Reserve Bank printing so much money, that means taxes are going to go up. And when taxes go up, inflation goes up. So if you're sitting there and you're making, let's say, $100,000 a year, and you think you're fat and happy, well, the reality is your $100,000 is being eroded right as we speak by taxes and inflation. So that's why you have to build a network that can increase your ability to bring in income. And if you don't do that, I venture to say in 10 years, low income will be people earning $250,000 a year or more, because the inflation will be so high. They'll have to raise wages that high, and you still won't get ahead at $250,000 a year. And besides, taxes will take 80% of it anyway. So you've really got to stop thinking about working as an individual and working as a networked organization. That's why it's called television networks, radio networks. And the rich know that you have to build, create, or work for networks. Otherwise, you're finished.
Obviously, we invited a lot of our associates on the line here tonight, people that have already made the decision to start their own business. They've already been building a business for themselves. We also asked people to invite their spouses on the line, because sometimes the spouse doesn't understand what he or she, what their spouse is doing. Why are they spending their time building a network marketing business? Why are they going to a meeting once a week? Why are they getting on conference calls like this versus spending family time? Family members, their kids need to understand why mom or dad might not be at home because they're having to invest their time in this venture, in this asset they're trying to build. Maybe it's friends of theirs. They don't see them at bowling anymore. They don't see them hanging out at the basketball court. They're not hanging out at the football games as much because they're having to make some sacrifices right now. And 11 years ago, I stepped to the counter of success, and I was willing to pay full retail. I made the decision that I'm going to make some sacrifices. You have to give up in order to go up. What are you willing to give up to get ahead in life? Some people are just so content with mediocrity, they're willing to go sit in the highest seats in the bleachers at the football stadium versus going out and working hard for a year or two and coming back 2 years later and buying a box seat. And so it's just about quality of life. It's about having peace of mind. It's about that spouse or that family member, your circle of friends. Mr. Kiyosaki, what would you say to those folks that might be listening on the line right now because they were invited by somebody as a part of our business project here? What would you say to them as far as lending their support, why they should understand what that friend or family member is trying to do here?
Well, if your family members or spouse and friends do not understand why you're building a business, you obviously need new friends and family, because you're talking to people with what I would say is a employees or an entitlement mentality. So sometimes, the hardest people to convince are friends, family, and things like that. I know for me, my family still asks me if I have a job. I go home. I'm in Hawaii right now. I don't live here. I have a house here. But when I come home and I run into my uncles and aunts, they always ask me, "Hey, have you got a job yet?" I say, "No, I don't." "Oh, too bad. We feel so sorry for you." You cannot talk to people like that unless they're willing to change themselves. I'm sitting here with my wife, Kim, and we've been married almost 25 years now, and I wouldn't have made it without her. I mean, I don't know how you could be married to somebody who thinks that working for somebody else 9 to 5 is an intelligent choice. So if you have friends and family who still think like an employee, the E Quadrant, you have a hard sales job ahead unless they're open-minded and willing to grow with you. And I don't mean derogatorily, but I'm on the island I grew up on, the big island of Hawaii. And I went to school with my classmates, and I love them dearly, but I have nothing in common with them. All they do is go surf and they smoke dope, and that's what they do. I don't do that stuff. I just moved on, a long time ago. So if you're going to join the network marketing business, you may really need to discuss closely with friends and family the fact that you're moving on. And if they're not willing to move on with you, move on anyway. Because if you don't have the courage to do that, you probably will not be successful. I mean, there's nothing more horrifying for me than to go to a family reunion, either my wife's side or my side, because they, in my world, they're good people, nice people, love them dearly. I don't think they get it. I mean, I have brothers-in-laws and sister-in-laws, they're well-educated, master's degrees, and two of them are now looking for jobs again. And you're 60 years old, when are you going to wake up? But no, they're going back to school to get retrained for another job. So it is really, that's what I love the Cashflow Quadrant about, is that, people have a mindset. And if your mindset has changed and you're willing to move forward and build a business, then you're really in the right place. But if you cannot convince friends or family, then you're in another tough decision right there, because you might need to move on. I mean, I love my family, but I moved on. They're different people than me. They have different values. Most of them enjoy being poor, but that's not my, that's my bailiwick. So what I like to do is, put my wife Kim is standing right here with me right now. She can say a few words about working together to build a business.
Hi, this is Kim.
Hey, Kim. Well, appreciate you being on the call with us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I what I love about your business is it gives couples the opportunity to work together. And, a decision Robert and I made very, very early when we first got together is we wanted to make sure that as we grew and got older, that we didn't grow apart, but that we grew together. And so we've been pretty much business partners since about a month after we met. We study together. We attend seminars together. We read books together. But building the business is, number one, it's probably the quickest way to personal development. And in terms of the relationship, we're building it together. We're learning together. We're growing together. It's not the easiest thing in the world, I'll tell you that, because we don't always agree. Being business partners, we both have our own opinions, and we're quite independent. But as a friend of mine said, if you have two business partners that agree on everything, one of you is unnecessary. But for couples that are in your business, I really applaud you for doing it together. I think it's probably one of the most rewarding things that Robert and I have done is built the business together. We've built many businesses together. But I'll tell you one thing, it's not boring. We always have a lot to talk about, and the growth and the personal growth is just phenomenal. So to all the couples out there, I congratulate you, and also I want to applaud the women that are building their business together, because today more than ever we need strong women role models in the world of business, especially for the young women that are coming up. So the women that are out there, I really applaud you, and go for it. Make your dreams happen. I think women in business are phenomenal. The Economist magazine recently stated that the next giant economic growth wave will not come from the internet or China or India, but will come from empowering women. So I think you guys are in the right place at the right time. I wish you the very, very best, and keep going for it, building your business and building your dreams. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kim. And she obviously is incredible herself, and she actually wrote a chapter in this book, A Business Where Women Excel, which is just a really great chapter. I want to encourage everybody that wouldn't get the book to read that as well. And I've got just one more last question for Robert before he goes. And folks, I want everybody to understand that when I'm talking to you all about spouses and friends and family and support and so forth, my family was not very supportive of me. My friends were certainly not supportive. They didn't come rushing to join me and deciding to start a business for themselves. But I had my own reasons. I got into the business for me, not for them. Of course, sometimes the best revenge is massive success. And sometimes, somebody putting you down or telling you you're an idiot for even trying, well, guess what? Let that fuel your fire. Don't let that knock you out of the box. Let that fuel you to go out there and show them what you're made of. You got to have backbone. That's why I want to encourage everybody to get multiple copies. I just ordered 500 copies of this book on this past Wednesday or Thursday, because every one of my prospects that has not joined my business, I want to get them to read this. Every one of my, negative family members and friends, I can drive up in my Ferrari in their driveway and they still don't think my business makes any sense. So I'm going to get them to read this book. I believe that the reason why I wanted to have this conference call tonight is because if you heard it from me, it might seem like a sales pitch. But, Robert Kiyosaki doesn't have anything to gain by telling you, what he's sharing with you all tonight. The point is, third-party, credible source. That's why this call is so valuable tonight. So, Robert, are you still with us for one last question?
Sure.
But knowing what you know about, the network marketing industry, I know that, years and years ago, you didn't understand the value in it. Now you certainly do. You've written books about the value of building a network in this industry. But knowing what you know about what these folks are involved in, what do you say to someone who may now be thinking or in the future might think of quitting and giving up? What do you say to that person?
If building a business was easy, everybody would do it. I wrote about it in Success Magazine coming up in the July issue. It's called The Law of Compensation. And the law of compensation says your compensation is a function of dedication over time. And what that means is that let's take the game of golf. Let's say I go out, I've never played golf before, and I get out there and I'm, standing on the tee box, whatever I am, just slicing away. It's a horrible looking picture. It is frustrating. I look like a fool. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the grip is. I don't know backswing. I don't know how to putt. I don't know how to hit. It's an ugly, ugly process. And let's say I put a year in, and that's still an ugly process. I put a lot of effort. What the law of compensation says, you put a lot of time in, and you get zero returns. That's the same as building any business. I don't care if it's network marketing or an education company or Google. You put in a lot of time for the first 5 years and get back nothing. And that's why most people are not successful, is that they put in, let's say, some effort, and then when they get no return, they go back and get a job as a waitress or work as a county supervisor or something. And then they get less return. So it takes, and what the law of compensation says, after a number of years, suddenly you put in a little effort, but you get massive returns. And I would say that's true for my wife and I. When she and I got married, I was almost $1 million in debt from the failure of my first business. And we worked and worked and worked and worked. And it took us nearly 5 years to get to zero. To the point where we were out of the bad debt I had gotten into. And it took us another 5 years just to be financially free. Today, we do very little work, and we get massive returns. Like during this crisis, which started in 2007, since then we've probably added another 1,000 apartment houses to our portfolio, another 5 oil wells, a major resort, 5 golf courses, and things like that. And suddenly it looks like we have the magic touch. But what it is the law of compensation in action is that we paid the dues. We didn't quit. There were times when things were so dark, we had no money, we were homeless, but we kept going. And what that does is build up your spirit and your soul and your faith and your self-confidence. That's really what makes you rich, not money. And when I find people who quit when the going gets tough, they may go to church a lot, but they don't really have much faith in themselves. And that's really what any business venture does for you. It really tests your spirit, your mind, your soul, and your body. And that's what we support.
Robert and Kim, I appreciate you all dialing in. I know you're out there in Hawaii, and you've got many things to do and a lot of businesses to run, a lot of people you're coaching and mentoring all around the world. So appreciate all your efforts to help the everyday person out there. And you've got over 3,000 better than everyday people on the line here tonight listening to you. Hopefully they're going to take what you share with us, and I've got a little bit more I'm going to cover after you jump off. So I appreciate you very much, and we're going to encourage everybody to study your teachings and apply it in their lives, and hopefully you'll be meeting them one day on the street. They'll probably come up to you and say, hey, I was on a conference call, I read your book, and here's what you did for my life. So appreciate you guys very much.
Right, and the reason the book is called Business of the 21st Century is we are in the 21st century. All the rules have changed. So thank you very much, Brian.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. You guys heard it right from Robert Kiyosaki. I just encourage you to go to and get yourself a copy of the Business of the 21st Century book from Robert Kiyosaki, and I just ordered 500 of them for my local friends and my folks in my network out here in Maryland, so they don't have to worry about ordering them, so I'm going to have them delivered in a couple of days.
A quick update. networkmarketcenter.com would like to offer you an exclusive coupon code to get an additional 10% off the Business of the 21st Century book or audio CD. To take advantage of this special offer, visit networkmarketcenter.com. Once you've reached the checkout section, go ahead and enter the coupon code FREEMP3. That's FREEMP3, and there are no spaces. And that code will allow you to get an additional 10% off your entire purchase.
Folks, here's the bottom line. I really hope that everybody understands the importance of some of the things I was talking with Mr. Kiyosaki about tonight, and anybody who's maybe listening into the line because you were invited by a friend or somebody that you know that's in our organization and they wanted you to hear a little bit about the general insights from Robert Kiyosaki. I just want everybody to think that. And look, wake up. You know, Mr. Kiyosaki has a better platform. He's much more accomplished. He's much more well-known, so he can say this, and you all probably take it a little bit better than an obscure guy like Brian Carruthers, that unless you've been a network marketing builder for the last 10, 15 years, and, you know, unless you've seen what I've done, you don't even know who I am. But I'm simply going to share with you from a man-to-man, a father-to-father, human-to-human, person-to-person, you got to wake up. Your kids want you home, parents. They want you to be their hero, not an athlete, not a rapper. They want their parents home. But because you're working that grind job, putting in all those hours, isn't it sad that you're giving away your entire waking life to somebody else, to an employer that's probably going to cast you off to a ditch when they can replace you with somebody younger and faster and cheaper? The reality is, folks, that company might not even be here in 3 to 5 years, the one you're working for that you think you've got this job security right now. That's why this book is going to help everybody to wake up. People say, well, I don't have any time to start a business. Then don't let your reason to do this business be your excuse not to. You don't have any time? What makes you think if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get things are going to change? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting things to change. If you don't want the next 5 years of your life to be like the last 5, you need to do something about it. You need some passive residual cash flow. People say, I don't have any money to start a business. But look, if you don't have $72, then what you're doing ain't working. How many years have you been working at your job and you haven't saved up $72 to start a business that can transform that situation so you never have to tell a friend or a family member or a stranger ever again that you don't have $72 to your name? I mean, how are you going to fill up your gas tank tomorrow? And I'm not saying that to be impolite or to be abrasive. I'm simply saying that if you don't have time, if you don't have money, they all have the background. Well, what background do you need? We have janitors that went from $20,000 a year to making $20,000 a month now. We got post office delivery guys here in Maryland that went from $30-some thousand a year to $80-some thousand a month. We got people that were mall workers and making 6 figures a month. People that were in the military. I mean, just unbelievable. And look, and forget talking about like the huge money. Look, you just need to have an extra something flowing in. Set up an asset. It doesn't have to be huge assets. Robert Kiyosaki talks about setting up assets. They'll keep on spitting off cash flow to you whether you're working or not. So what if we can show you how in a few hours a week, maybe 3 to 5 hours a week, 3 to 5 hours a week, that's less than a part-time job, right? 3 to 5 hours a week. What if we can show you how you can invest that kind of time, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and you can generate an extra $1,000 a month, an extra $1,500 or $2,000 a month, just part-time? What would that do for your household? Would that allow you to eliminate the second job you already have? Maybe put your kids in a private school, an incredible, car payment, pay off part of your mortgage, and take your family on a real vacation, pay off some student loans, go get back into school. I mean, what could you do? Don't let your. Here's my point is you can't make excuses. Don't let your reasons to do this business be your excuse not to. If you want the time freedom and the financial freedom together, see, I know a lot of people have a lot of money and no time and they're unhappy. I know a lot of people who have a lot of time and no money and they're unhappy. Who do you know in your life that has time and money together at the same time? Very few people, right? And the ones that do, I bet they're not banging your door down trying to help you get what they got. But here's the thing. You've got to be coachable. You've got to have a burning desire. And you've got to be willing to work. You've got to be willing to listen to your mentors. You've got to be willing to give it time. Robert Kiyosaki talks about the law of compensation. You have to put a lot of time and effort in the front end and make a little bit of money, so that later on you're spending a lot less time, but you're making a lot more money with the time you don't have to spend on it anymore. So you got to give it time, doing the proper activity with a positive attitude. That's kind of a little training tip that I just want to throw in there at the end as well. But folks, I just want to encourage everybody, if you're on the line and you're an associate already, take your business seriously. Put the pedal to the metal. You never know what's around the corner tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen within your family tomorrow. There might be a health challenge or a crisis or something that comes up. You need to have the freedom, the time freedom to be there for them. You got to have the financial freedom. You got to make decisions. 95% of things that people call problems are not real problems. If you can stroke a check and solve it, it ain't a problem. Cancer is a real problem. Everything else, if you can just stroke a check, it ain't a problem. You just need to make more money. That's what we're talking about doing tonight. Wake up, get up, go after it, and let's make this business do incredible things for you and your family. Appreciate you all being on the call tonight. God bless you all.
A quick reminder, you can get an outstanding deal on the Business of the 21st Century book or audio CD by visiting networkmarketcenter.com. And remember, to get an additional 10% off the already discounted price, make sure you use the coupon code FREEMP3. That's FREEMP3. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this interview, and we wish you the very best.